Thank you so much for joining our Growth Over Grades podcast, where we talk about education ideas and topics that matter most to our SpacesEDU educator community. I am your host, Melody McAllister. At the beginning of each new episode, I like to feature an amazing educator in our community. This week, I want to give a shout out to Amy Storr. Amy is an active member in our professional learning network and is always sharing innovative ideas. She supports so many educators all over the world and encourages them to develop strong relationships with students while helping them learn how to use ed tech to make it more fun and natural. She's also the reason I started following our guest today, Jed Dearybury. Jed is an educator who has taught early childhood, elementary, and post-secondary education and training future educators. He models culturally responsive teaching while infusing his lessons with play and has co-authored 2 books focused on play, The Playful Classroom and The Playful Life. And he doesn't just teach this, but lives it. I had the honor of meeting Jed at the Teach Better conference this past fall, and his support of educators I got to see with my own eyes. He is a joy to be around, and if you are not already following him, make sure to start today. As a member of the LGBTQI plus community, Jed is also vocal and a leader in ensuring teachers and students are represented, especially those who have been historically marginalized in our schools and society. He has also co-authored a book called The Courageous Classroom, and I will share all these links so you can check out his work. Jed, it is such an honor to have you on the Growth Over Grades podcast today. How are you? And can you share a little bit about your background?
It's so good to be here, Mel. And I'm really tickled that you would invite me on and be here. I will be honest with the viewers. I'm a little melancholy this morning, a little bit more so than I would normally be. I lost my dear dog Biscuit yesterday,
Mm.
very suddenly. We didn't even know she was sick. She had a seizure and fell. And when she fell, a tumor inside of her stomach ruptured that we didn't even know
Oh,
she had. And it just spiraled very quickly. And we had to make a tough decision yesterday to part with Biscuit. And so I'm sad. I'm carrying that around. But
mm.
I know that many of us have been through that, and it's my turn. And I'm thankful for the life of Biscuit, and thankful that you let me share that. But when I'm not in a melancholy state, mourning my dog, I am out there in the world trying to help others um, bring more joy into their lives through the power of play. You mentioned that as you introduced me. I've written 2 books about it. And just last night, you said I practiced what I preached. I tried it last night. Even in the midst of our grief, some friends came over, brought us dinner. It was as if, we just like you would do for the loss of a human loved one. They came over, brought us dinner, and we told stories and we laughed and we remembered and we giggled and we cried too. But it was a moment of play because we came together. And in our books, we talk about the different play personalities, and storytelling is one of those. Collecting is one of those. And I've definitely collected lots of memories with Biscuit, and we have some good stories that we could tell about her. So we played last night, although it was a different kind of play than what most people think is play. We came together and we had a good time as we could, um, you know,
Mm-hmm.
working through the grief of last night. So, and when I'm not doing the work of play, as you mentioned, I'm teaching higher ed. I have several courses this semester. Of course, all of them have a heavy play emphasis because I think play can be done in any subject, anywhere, especially if you handle it with care. So, yeah, that's what I do. And you mentioned my LGBTQIA advocacy, which I am very passionate about. I hadn't always been out as an educator. I didn't come out till I was 35. I will be 45 this year, so I am celebrating a decade of being free and being who I am this year, which is exciting. So yeah, that's what I do. That's who I am, and I'm just thrilled to be here with you.
I'm thrilled that you are here too, and my heart hurts for you because it's so painful to lose someone that you love so much in your family. I would say also I can't believe that you're 45. I thought you were younger than me, so
Well,
so way
I
to
take
go.
I take that as an utmost compliment, and I will tell everybody I use a little Clinique eye cream every
Nice.
morning. Um, it's Clinique for men, but I'm sure it's the same thing the women are using. They're just putting it in a different tube. But I only started a little facial regime when the pandemic started. You know, we had all that time at home. Um,
Yes.
I ordered all these facial products from Target.
Yeah, I started to learn how to put makeup on during the pandemic, so I totally like it,
Love it.
yeah, it's wonderful. I love
Yeah.
talking with you, and I'm so glad that you're here today. And again, I just want I you genuinely live out everything that you say, and you and I both know that that is so hard to find in other people. Like it's just not, it's not common. And so I admire you as a leader, especially in how you live out what you say. And I just we've talked about this a little bit, but why is play so important for all ages of learners, not just, early childhood, but like
Well,
for all learners?
first off, I want to say this about I have to live very intentionally. Like
Hmm.
I don't just wake up and be like, "Hey, let's play today." Sometimes
Right.
I'm grumpy. Sometimes I'm in a pissy mood like everybody else, so I have to be very intentional. And I put I feel nooks and crannies of my life that will spur me on to playfulness. I have a Golden Girls calendar that sits on the shelf by my shower so that I start my day every day with a moment of Golden Girls trivia. I tear that calendar off every day. I've got a little quote box right beside it that are they're inspirational quotes that move me to feel better, to play better, to be better. I'll talk more about nooks and crannies later, but your question, why is it so important? It's because, well, our brain is constantly growing and evolving, and it has this amazing ability that's called neuroplasticity. That can constantly change and regrow itself and rewire itself all the way up until we are dead. And I want to live a life that's constantly having an open mind, receptive mind to be growing, to be rewiring itself, and to um, help me to live that playful life. Also, when you are in a playful mindset, your brain is releasing neurotransmitters that are going to help you feel better. Serotonin and indomida, uh, uh, dopamine, all of those catecholamines, all of them are released when you are playing and in a good mood. And I don't know if a lot of your listeners know this. You're going to be this might make you blush, Mel, but serotonin, it helps you poop. And who isn't happy when you look? If you're regular, you feel better, right? And so I talk about that on every show I'm on because I think it's worth a nod. If for anything, get out there and play so you'll be more regular, right?
So true. I mean, literally, if you are compacted, you're not going to be as in the mood to be playful. So I think it's
Yeah.
very
Well,
important. And
and
I
you
just
said, yeah, I love that you said that. Put that in the picture at Sicily, 1922. I'm glad that we have a Facebook user who is out there, in knowing the Golden Girls. I'm a big
thank you
fan.
for being a friend.
Oh, thank you for
Please.
being. Hey, can I show you something really quick in my
Oh, of
office?
course.
I'm a big fan. Okay, so here is another Golden Girls calendar.
I love it.
Here on my wall is some original Golden Girl artwork that a friend painted, and then in that corner is a Golden Girls puzzle that someone put together and framed for me during the pandemic and dropped it off on my porch on my pandemic birthday.
Wow.
Also, they're not right here. Oh, I've got some crocheted Golden Girls dolls. I've got these little Golden Girls finger puppets. I've got all of them. So I really do live a playful life. I do.
Yes.
And that's, I surround myself with stuff that makes me want to play.
Right.
Um,
I want
both
to play right now
physical
just talking
play,
with you and looking at your room. I want let's play.
yeah, both physical play and mental play.
Right.
There's all kinds of stuff back there. Yeah, I'm really proud too of these up on that top shelf. I don't know if you can see these right here. These are
Yes.
the original California raisins from back in the day when we were kids, and they came in the Happy Meals. Yeah,
Yes.
I still have mine. They're up
I
there.
loved the California raisin that wore the high heels. Oh, I thought she
Mhm.
was so
Yeah,
beautiful. Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Yes. You know, just talking with you and I love how you're surrounding yourself with objects and things that really are meaningful to you, but also get you in that, mindset of playfulness.
yeah,
And there's there's science behind having fun, but really there's just so much joy. Like I
Mhm.
can't imagine like being in your class and all the memories being created through the play. And also, I mean, just those memories alone help you remember what you're learning,
Yeah.
period.
I had an experience just this morning where I got an email from a current student who is in my online course for children's literature at the University of South Carolina. And it was from a student named Jamie Martin. And I didn't recognize the name offhand, but the email said, "Hey, Mr. Dearybury, I don't know if you remember me, but this is me, Dominique. You taught me in third grade, and now you're teaching me children's literature." And of course, I remembered Dominique, but she goes by Jamie now. And I just flipped my lid. I was so excited that she was. I mean, I have her again in my life as a student,
Yes.
and she started talking about things that she remembered. And one special thing that she remembered, I was just so thankful. She was a amazing writer in third grade, and
She
she
was an
wanted to
amazing
write a book.
writer.
Writer, yeah. She wanted to write stories, and she was great at it. And she put together this little book out of notebook paper, and she stapled it. And I said, "Oh, Dominique," I said, "you need to have your own book." I said, "I'm going to give you this blank book. You know those bare books that we have." And I gave it to her, and she talked about how she still has it. And she's a sophomore, junior in college. I don't know what year she is yet, but I haven't looked. I didn't recognize the name of her, so it didn't dawn on me that she might be a former student. But she remembered so many of the fun things that we did, and that's why play is important for all ages, is because when you have a playful experience, you are also having an emotional connection to what you're doing, and so the learning sticks. And whether it's learning from a book, or learning from a teacher, or learning from an experience outside of that in the real world, if you embrace play and have an emotional connection to it, um, it's just it's powerful, and it makes the learning stick. And the more that we as educators embrace that, the more we will see our students connecting with the work, and it will become much more meaningful and relevant.
I love that. I love that. I'm writing it down. I never want to forget this, but I'm not going to because we've already played. But I
Yeah,
love that too. And not only did your former student remember you, but you remembered her,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
it goes both ways.
I remember her very well. She was the first. It was her first year at our school, and she was just one of those kids who just jumped right into class, no fear. And I like to think that she was also in a space that helped her to be that way.
Hmm.
Back to intentionality. I was very intentional about the classroom space that I created.
Hmm.
Every My principal was very encouraging every time she visited with me. She said, "This space is different. It feels different." Uh,
Hmm.
she said, "You create a safe space here." And I think that's because, as mentioned, I wasn't out for most of my career, so I sought safety. I
Right.
sought safe space, and so I created safe space,
Hmm.
uh, which I'm
Wow.
glad that you noticed. I'm glad that students noticed that.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think that educators can implement more play in the classroom? Do you think it's
Well,
super hard?
no, it might be at first. I've been being intentional about it for a long time, but we get this question a lot. This is why we wrote the book, The Playful Classroom. But all throughout the Playful Classroom, we talk about starting small, looking for those nooks and crannies. I don't
Hmm.
want any teacher to walk away from our book, or from our podcast, or from any workshop with me and think, "Oh, Jed wants me to rewrite my whole science curriculum to be more playful." No way. Maybe over a period of 5 years, yes.
Hmm.
But right away, I want you to start looking at the nooks and crannies. What is the 10 minutes before the bell rings like in your classroom? What is the transitions going from lunch to recess? What is those last 20 minutes of the day? I knew teachers who packed up their kids, you know, at 2 o'clock, and we didn't leave till 2:30. That was 30
Right.
minutes. What were you doing during that 30 minutes that you could have been making a playful impact that would have turned into meaningful, relevant, and fun learning? And so start with those nooks and crannies. And it doesn't even have to be that big of a space. Just how do you take attendance in the morning? I know all of us
Mm.
struggle with taking attendance. Everybody who watches this has gotten a call from the secretary over the speaker or the phone that says, "Hey, Mel, you forgot to take attendance." And you're like, "Oh, you know, turn it into a game, turn it into a fun experience with your kids so that you don't forget, so that they remember, they help you remember. Make it where you get a tally on the board, and every time you remember to take attendance, if every time you get 5 tallies, everybody gets a Smartie. And then those kids are never going to let you forget to take.
Yeah.
The more you can gamify and turn things into fun, the more it just adds to the creating of the space, but it also will trickle over into your curriculum. If you start with those nooks and crannies, it will bleed over into every area of your curriculum, and then you will rewrite that science curriculum because you'll realize the power of that kind of learning.
Wow. Um, so what is like one of the biggest myths that people tell you that like I can't do play in the classroom? Isn't it
Oh gosh.
because blah
So
blah blah?
have you read the book? Because you're setting me up good here. There's a whole section in the book where we talk about eliminating excuses. And the biggest excuse that everybody has is that they don't have time. So that's why we say start with the nook and crannies. The next biggest excuse is, oh, well, play is just for little kids. Well, then we debunk that with the neuroscience. I mean, you can't read the neuroscience and the power of play. The research has been going back for decades and decades. We built on the work of Dr. Stuart Brown, who is the nation's leading play researcher. He's in his 80s. He's been doing it for years. Medical doctor Anthony DeBenedit, we built off of his book, The Playful Mindset. You can't dispute that when you so it not being applicable to your students, or the buzzword is rigorous. Well, when you see what happens to your brain while you're playing, engaging in any kind of playful experience, both purposeful play and free play, your brain is just exploding with connections, and it's you can't argue with it. The other excuse that we get is, oh, my administrators won't like it, and this is a valid pushback because I realize that people are in schools and districts where they are very top heavy. The administrators dictate a lot of the curriculum, the scope and sequence, the daily timeline of where you're supposed to be when, but they don't always dictate how you stick to that scope and sequence. You still have some autonomy there. But number two, even if they do push back, I say give them a copy of our book, direct them to the work of Stuart Brown and Dr. DeBenedit and us, and invite me to your school, invite me to your district. I will help with that. Like if there's a group of principals that are really on board, but maybe the superintendent isn't, invite me to work with some of your schools, and I can come and show the power firsthand.
And you're not just playing when you say that, like that's what you do. You're just about to get on the road and go to a school to do this.
I'm literally leaving as soon as we get done with the call to head to a county about 3 hours south of where I live to do a full day workshop with them tomorrow. I'm really excited about it because it's with their district's teachers of the year, past and present. And so there's going to be about 100 educators from across the curricula, from early childhood all the way to AP physics or whatever. And they're just going to be, and if the teachers of the year, hopefully it's their top tier teachers that can go back and make some real nook and cranny change or big systematic change in their classrooms. I'm excited about doing that work. I've been working for the last 2 years with a district in Texas, Belton Independent School District. Specifically, there's a school called Belton Early Childhood School, and I am obsessed with that school. It's a complete 4K school, and they went totally play-based. And the results that they're seeing there is amazing. And some of your people, the pushback will be, oh, well, that's for little kids. But you know what? I promise you, if we had a middle school or high school that said, hey, we're going to transform to a completely play-based school, your scores are going to go up. Your teachers are going to be happier. Your kids are going to be retaining the information. And guess what? Everybody's going to be in a better mood. And it's going to impact the whole community. I'm convinced.
Right. And I want to say, you talk about play-based, it looks different for everybody. So while some would be like, oh, we couldn't do that. Well, it looks different. It would be modeled to what your school, it's not just, I guess
Well,
it's not,
let me
it's very important.
let me give you a quick example. I've got this little bucket here, and this is just I'm just thinking this off the top of my head. Um, there's an artist named Keith Haring. You may
Uh-huh.
recognize some of his art. These are kind of his thing. Keith Haring is his name. Okay, so this is
Herring.
Haring, Haring. So
Love it.
this is a little balancing game that I have with Keith Haring, and you pull out these pieces and you try to see how high you can get it without your piece falling over. Okay, I'm doing
Uh-huh.
pretty good now by myself. Oh, but see it fell, right? Okay,
Right.
so that right there is a lesson in that right there could be a lesson in weight dispersal. That could be a lesson in physics. That could be a lesson in statistics. And I see how immediately I took that to
Yes.
a higher level. Not, I didn't say, oh, let's do this for kindergarten. I
Right.
immediately, and I did, and I could teach this through plays. There are theorems and, equations that you can bring into here. But then also at the kid level, at the, first grade, second grade level, you can also look up some more of Keith Haring's art, and he has some very defined angles in his artwork. I see lots of angles in there. Are those
Right.
acute angles? Are
Right.
those obtuse angles? Are they right angles? And then one time I did this with students, and I had them use rulers on the floor to recreate some of his art just by laying the rulers out. And it
Right.
was so fun. The students, and guess what? We were playing while we were learning about the different angles.
Right.
You don't have to teach those angles by drawing it on a whiteboard and labeling it and doing a PowerPoint.
Right.
There's other ways to do it, and these ways are more fun, and they
Right.
make the
And as an elementary educator, I'm thinking of all the social emotional connections that go along with it that are also good for, secondary education, not just elementary, but that's just what I love it.
well.
It's just infused with it.
There's always a heavy social emotional presence in elementary, I think, because we see those as foundational years. But guess what? 6th through 12th is still foundational years. Your brain's not even fully formed until you're 22. There's a reason that school shootings are happening. Um, of course, we need gun control and better laws with that. But students don't know how to regulate these emotions that they feel.
Hmm.
They see all these other ways to that people are expressing themselves with anger in online formats, and I'm certainly not blaming movies and video games completely. I think it's a societal issue as a whole. All these different components play into, um, but play-based learning can help that. When
Hmm.
when I was a kid, 10, 12 years old, even 16, if I would play a pickup game of kickball or basketball with friends, I had to learn how to regulate my emotions. I had to, and you did that through play. And if you
Right.
didn't, you got kicked out of the game. You had to sit on the
Right.
bench. You had to take a seat, calm down till you can come back. Um, and so I think some of the valuable lessons that we learn through play, we're missing those because our students are so tested, they're so standardized. Um,
Hmm.
I know I would love to snap my fingers and change the testing culture. But until that happens, I think that we do need to embrace play because it can help our scores.
For
So
sure.
anybody who's pushing back, they're showing me that they're just uneducated on the topic.
Hmm.
Um, I think if they did the reading and did the research,
And
they
probably
wouldn't
played a little bit more.
and played a little bit more. They're probably stuffy. I mean, if we're being honest. But I do like pushback because I think if you're not getting pushback, you're not doing it right.
For
If
sure.
ev-
Uh,
if everybody likes what you're doing, you're not getting any pushback.
it's true, and you're not, it's yeah, being challenged is a great way to learn, and
Yeah.
to develop new ideas. So I am so excited. I'm going to actually see you in real life in just less than a week. You're going to be at
Yes.
FETC in New Orleans. You're going to be at our Spaces EDU booth, and you're going to be doing demos. What can educators who are coming to FECC and visit our booth, what can they expect to see from you?
So two of my favorite ways to play are through children's literature and the arts. And so, of course, when I'm at the booth, we're going to be doing children's literature and the arts. Every time you come to the booth, I'm going to start with a children's book of some sort. I won't tell you what they are because I want you to come and find out what kind of fun I'm going to do. but we are going to. I will tell you one of my favorites. I'll give you a sneak peek of one of the four. We are going to do a collaborative art experience using Peter Reynolds' book, The Dot.
All
Peter
right.
Peter Reynolds is my all-time favorite children's author. He's a great friend of mine. He illustrated the cover of both of our Playful books. His catchphrase in The Dot is "Make a Mark," and he actually wrote that in my journal, and then I took that right out of the journal and had it tattooed right there on my arm to keep that close. But it's so much fun what we're going to do, and you're going to walk away with a really unique piece of art that's created with everybody who's there. So I hope that people will come. And that's going to be the first one. We're doing that the very first thing on January 24th, 12:30, I think it is. Is it my first?
Yes. And then I think we're having your author signing. Are we having that the second day or the first day? I have to look at the schedule.
You know what? I'll have to look at the schedule. I can't remember that. And maybe the first one. But here's the thing: we only have a limited number of books, so you got to get there early. You got to get there early, and the books are free. Can I tell them that?
Yes.
Can I tell them that? Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Yes, Spaces. Y'all are amazing. SpacesEDU bought a certain number of books, and you have to be there to get one if you want it for free. The Playful Classroom. Of course, you can order the Playful Life and the Courageous Classroom online at MrDearybury.com. You can also order the Playful Classroom there, but you might get a free one if you hold out a little bit and see it.
Yes, if you are going to be at FETC, make sure to stop by our SpacesEDU booth because we have a number of demos going on every single day, and we have one book signing. So definitely come, and it is definitely we are gifting that to teachers. SpacesEDU is gifting the Playful Classroom to the teachers that come first serve. So make sure you get there. And Jed, I have just enjoyed talking with you today so much, and I look forward to seeing you very soon at FETC. But before I end our podcast and our time together, I always like to ask educators, what is one piece of wisdom you'd like to share just today? Like, it may not have anything to do with play. It may be just something that's sitting in your mind and your heart that you'd like to share. And I just want to give you an opportunity to speak that out.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a big reader, and I read a lot. And one of the most impactful books I ever read was called Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear. It's by Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love. Some of you may have heard of that book before. But in Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear, she talks about something I think all of us deal with, and that is fear. Fear of being rejected, fear of being made fun of, fear of not being taken seriously, fear of something going wrong and not knowing how to handle it. And in the book, she talks about acknowledging the fears, but not letting them control the work that you do. And I think as educators, if there is one thing that I could change about my early part of my career that I think would have affected my later part of the career even greater, is if I would have learned to face those fears early on, to overcome those fears. Because when I get over those fears and realize most of those fears are not about what I think of myself, as most of them are about what other people may think of me.
Right.
And I think overcoming that fear helps you to live that creative life, live that playful life, live that fun life, live that exciting life that you want to live. Because when you let those shackles fall off, you're able to run in a way that you've never run before. And your stride is longer, it's quicker. It's got a pep and bounce that it doesn't have when you're bound to fear. And I know that we all do that. We all are afraid of different things, and it holds us back. So my one piece of wisdom is acknowledge the fear. They are real, but then do everything you can to face them and overcome them. Not only for your students, but for yourself, because in the long run, you're going to be so much better when you do.
I love that so much. Thank you. What a way to end our time together. But before you go, I just want to say thank you for being a friend.
Don't travel down
the road and back again.
I love it.
I wanted to do that a little bit more vibrato, but it's early in the morning here, so
yeah, it's not early here, but it's still before lunch. So
That's right. But truly, your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. I mean, seriously, I love connecting with you, Jed. I hope this is just the first of many times we collaborate. And I wish you well, the school that you're going to go to today. And just, I can't wait to see you soon. Thank you for sharing all of this. Thank you for anybody who is watching live or watching the replay. We appreciate you so much. And we hope that we see many of you at FETC coming up very soon. Bye,
yes.
everybody. Have a great day.